Jonathan Conricus is the former IDF spokesperson. He joins us here now from Jerusalem, and sir, it's good to have you on the show.
Thank
you. So, obviously, what we've seen in Gaza has been, very successful. They moved in. IDF has dismantled a lot of the threat from Gaza. Now it flips up to Hezbollah. This is another Iranian-backed front. Tell us what's going on to the north.
Yeah, there are many things to unpack. One, important to acknowledge that Hamas is one level of enemy. Hezbollah is a totally different ballgame. They are about 5 times more powerful than what Hamas is across the board. The amount of rockets that they have, the range, their precision, the amount of personnel, their equipment and training. Everything in Hezbollah is bigger and more dangerous towards Israeli civilians and towards Israel. So, whereas in Gaza, IDF has been successful, slowly, very carefully, may I add, dismantling Hamas infrastructure and taking care of terrorists, their infrastructure, network, and their tunnels and weapons. Up in Lebanon, Hezbollah is just as embedded within the civilian population as Hamas is in Gaza, only they have bigger guns, and it's more of them, and it's a larger terrain, which leads to the understanding both in Israel and with Hezbollah, which you alluded to. Yeah. Both sides aren't really interested in a war right now. Both sides are posturing. Israel is posturing, Hezbollah is posturing. Iran sending an unprecedented words of aggression against Israel, basically threatening a sovereign state with annihilation. I don't hear any condemnations of this around the world. Usually when states issue threats like this to obliterate another sovereign state, that usually is met with condemnations from around the world. Somehow with Israel that is different, that is worrying. And I think that more than anything, the Iranian threat really indicates how much they're feeling the pressure. And it's more of a sign of weakness in my mind than a sign of strength.
We went and shot so much footage today, all throughout, Israel, especially to the south. A lot of it's going to air tomorrow for the show. And the thing that we kept hearing over and over again when we talked to the IDF, Iran, 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 Iran. This all comes from this one country. Our country, over the last few years, has just opened up the coffers. I mean, we're talking billions and billions of dollars that has de-escalated this entire region and has brought so much threat to your country. It's infuriating to me to watch. I wonder, what do you say even at this point? If I don't understand how we have such foreign policy that is so misguided on this issue. How do you not understand that when you open up that much money to a country that does nothing but export terror, that they're going to export terror?
So I make a habit of not commenting so much on U.S. policy.
I know you don't.
But I'll say this. I think that what is needed for the Middle East to return to some level of peace and stability after a certain time is for Israel to change its strategy towards Iran. And I may agree on many things that you said, but I look inwards towards Israel. For many years, for 20 years, maybe 30 years, Israel's strategy has been one of more or less appeasement with Iran. We haven't held their feet to the fire, and we haven't forced the Iranian regime to pay a price for their aggression against Israel. And you're very right. Each and every bullet, explosive, rocket, and missile that is fired at Israelis for the last, 10, 15 years, it all trails back to Iran. There's no doubt about it. And what I'm asking myself is, when will Israel stand up and signal in a totally clear way to the evil and oppressive regime in Iran that enough is enough, and we are now going to hold you responsible for your acts of aggression against Israel. And yes, Israel has the tools, it has the military capability to do so, it has the intelligence and the delivering capability to do so, and I think now is the time to start holding them accountable.
Do you worry? I mean, if you look at the response from the West, which was, largely sympathetic to Israel in the days and weeks after October 7th. That's changed. Yeah. Obviously, that's changed. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it makes any sense. I find it unbelievable that people can somehow not understand the fundamentals of this war. But if you have a situation with Lebanon, you just said that they're just as embedded. Hezbollah is just as embedded among the population of
Lebanon,
presumed innocent people,
yes.
as Gaza was, as Hamas was in Gaza.
Exactly.
If you guys find yourself in a conflict with Hezbollah, there's going to be innocent life lost. There always is, and probably on both sides.
Yeah. Sadly, yes.
That's just the fact of war, and that's certainly the fact of war when you're dealing with a terror group. Are you worried about having to hold on to support, from, nonsensical allies like the United States has become? Yeah.
I am more worried because the stakes are much higher.
Yeah.
The amount of civilian casualties in Israel directly from Hezbollah rockets that we know they're going to aim their rockets at our cities and our civilians. We unfortunately will have civilian casualties in Israel, and if, God forbid, that happens, our response won't be the same tolerant response that we have been doing in Gaza, where basically we're fighting with one hand behind our back and the other one has a velvet glove on it. That's how gentle we are in Gaza. I know that many people around the world don't see it like that. Maybe Newsmax viewers have a more correct reading on the situation, but many people think that we are tough and heavy. We're not. We are so delicate and gentle when it comes to our targeting in Lebanon. If we have hundreds of casualties every day, rest assured that the Israeli response will be totally different than what we have been able to do. Yeah. The level of flexibility that we have had in terms of our response in Gaza. Yeah. What that means translates to casualties. Yeah. Lots of them, people that unfortunately will be in the wrong place at the wrong time, with Hezbollah rockets hidden underneath them or fired from within civilian population. We won't have a choice but to suppress incoming fire in order to defend our civilians. Yeah. And as always, we know how the dance goes. We're attacked, we retaliate, and then the world starts to criticize Israel for defending itself. Right. We've been there before.
You've been there before. Jonathan Conricus, former IDF spokesperson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Good to see you, sir. Thank you.
A pleasure.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Dejobnik signing off.